Night Science Show. Tonight we have a very special guest, Edward Jenner. How are you doing tonight, Edward?
I'm doing well, thank you.
That's great, that's great. Now tell us a little bit about yourself, Edward.
Well, I was born on May 17th, 1749 in Berkeley, England. I was orphaned at the age of 5 and lived with my older brother for most of my childhood. And when I was 13, I apprenticed to a country surgeon and apothecary in Salisbury. 2 years later, I began my apprenticeship with George Hartwick.
And was this where you got your interest in the protective effects of cowpox?
Well, yes. Well, I was under George Hartwick. I became interested in the effects of cowpox. However, it was a little more than a thought at the time.
So when was it that you actually had your major breakthrough?
Must have been summer of 1796. I conducted that cowpox was protected individuals who got it from smallpox, but also could be transmitted purposefully as a way to protect against smallpox.
A truly amazing analysis.
Thank you.
Now, before we get into vaccines, let's first talk about smallpox. Can you give us a brief history of smallpox and what effects it has on humanity?
Oh, of course. Smallpox is believed to have appeared around 10,000 BC. In fact, there is evidence of skin lesions on mummies in Egypt. Since its appearance there have been an estimated 300 to 500 million deaths.
So smallpox has been a very dangerous disease.
Oh, yes, incredibly so. The fatality rate of smallpox was around 40% for adults and nearly 90% for infants. And nearly every victim was left with disfiguring scars. Ugh. Additionally, in Europe, during the 18th century, nearly 400,000 people died yearly to the disease.
So Edward, tell us how you came upon the process of vaccinations.
Well, as I mentioned before, in 1796, I made the observation that cowpox could possibly be used to protect against the smallpox virus. So, of course, I had to test this theory, so I found a young dairymaid with fresh cowpox lesions. I took matter from her lesions and inoculated a young boy named James Phipps. James subsequently got sick and displayed all the symptoms of cowpox. He made a full recovery after, I think it was about a week. And then several months later, I inoculated the same boy with the smallpox virus, and no disease developed. This was the first time I successfully vaccinated someone.
All right, well, this is truly fascinating. But how does vaccination differ from inoculation?
Well, the main difference lies in the fact that a vaccination is a weakened version of a given disease. In my case, it was cowpox, which is less dangerous, but similar to smallpox. The thing about this is this weakened version of the disease, in a way, stimulates the actual disease without having the full effects. This process avoids the dangers of inoculation, which forced the patient to suffer the full effects of the disease before immunity was acquired.
So vaccinations are a lot safer than inoculations.
Vaccinations do not typically have adverse effects, whereas inoculation often resulted in complications. In fact, inoculations are outlawed today.
Wow. So what short-term effects has the vaccine had on the world?
Well, the discovery led to a drastic drop in deaths due to smallpox, and many people began seeking the vaccination, and I dedicated much of my time to its advancement. Inoculations were also outlawed in much of Europe due to both their inefficiency and danger compared to the vaccine.
So what about the long-term effects?
Well, the long-term effects, what happened with the discovery, it led to the eradication of the smallpox virus, the first and only time that a disease has been completely eliminated by humanity.
That is a truly historic revelation. What about the effects that this discovery has had on your life?
Well, I have devoted much of my life to promoting the use of vaccine and trying to spread it as much as I can. However, I would often run out of the vaccine due to its high demand.
I bet you've become quite the wealthy man as a result.
Well, actually, I've devoted so much of my free time that my private practice and personal life has suffered as a result. I have not made any attempt to monetize my vaccine. I give it freely to whoever I can.
Well, Edward, that is very noble of you, and the world thanks you for your hard work.
I thank the world.
Now, what are the dangers of vaccination, and what kind of side effects do they cause?
Well, vaccinations are mostly safe. They can cause some adverse side effects. Mostly they can result in minor rashes and, redness around the injection site. However, in extremely rare cases, we have seen allergic reactions to the vaccine, but, medical staff are trained on how to deal with these occurrences.
Now, there's been some talk. What about the possibilities of developing autism?
There is no evidence that vaccines cause autism. Multiple studies by the CDC have shown repeatedly that vaccines have no correlation with an increased risk of autism.
Thank you for clearing this up for everyone.
No problemo.
So all in all, would you say vaccines are good, or do the cons outweigh the pros?
Yeah. Well, I'd say definitely. Vaccines help prevent very dangerous diseases from being prevalent in society, and they save millions and millions of lives. Vaccinations may not be the most comfortable or interesting thing in the world, but they are important and have proven to be helpful to the public and the development and safety of society.
Well, thank you so much, Edward, for being on our show today. We loved having you.
Well, thanks for having me. It was a real pleasure. And remember, get your vaccinations, okay? Get them.
Whoa, amber is the color